Ladies and gentlemen, my name's Randy Dillon. I told you I had a very special guest joining me this week, and I do. Justin Slim. He's a former referee of the WHL. He referee college hockey. He has a lot of great experience. He's going to join me. I'm going to ask him a couple of questions. We are going to have some fun today. Justin, I appreciate you joining me today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
No problem. So first question is, how long did you referee for?
So I started when I was 12 years old, and so I did it for about 17 years. And you start low, but you move your way high, moving your way up. So it was great. I saw almost every level of hockey, so it was awesome.
Perfect. So you refereed in the CHL in college league, correct?
That's right.
You probably called some big important games there, like the Memorial Cup, college championships, all that, correct?
So I didn't make it up to the Memorial Cup or anything like that, but I did see some playoff hockey, first, second round hockey. I did do some league finals within the CHL, which was awesome. It was so much fun. So, yeah, I saw basically everything. I did some national championships as well. I flew all the way to Nova Scotia to do our World Under-17 Championship, which was a ton of fun. But, yeah, it was great. Great competition.
A lot of experience here, ladies and gentlemen. What made you get into referee? Because I know a lot of people ask about why would you get into referee or how come? Because I always thought refereeing is you start if you want to play hockey. It's a great way to start a part-time job making extra cash. But there has to be more to it, isn't there?
So it's funny for me because I only started playing hockey when I was 12 years old. So right now I'm 6'4", and I was going through my growth spurt right when I was 12 years old. So I played for 3 years, and I got injured so many times. Like we're talking almost I couldn't take a body check. I kept hurting my tailbone. I was like, but I love the game so much. There's something about it, the intensity. It's Canada's game. It's a lot of fun. So I thought there might have had to be more. So I had a friend who was one of my elementary, junior high friends, and he said, hey, here's a great idea for a part-time job. Why don't we get into this refereeing? We'll drive together. We'll have a great time doing it. It should be a lot of fun. And it was great. I mean, you were making $15 a game, like $15 an hour back in whatever, 1990, 2000. Like, that's a lot of money.
That is.
So I thought, you know what, it's a great part-time job. So I thought I'd jump at the chance, the opportunity to do it. And I remember calling my friend sometimes and being like, I called my first penalty. Oh my God. Like, it's so exciting. And once you get that feeling of calling your first penalty, making the big decisions, things like that, like you can't stop. So it was great.
Well, I think it's an inspiration to just kids all around, just saying, if you stick with something you're passionate about, there's more than one way to play hockey than just being a player. There's refereeing, there's the business side, all that. And I think you're just a true inspiration story to say, if you really like hockey, there's more way involved. And you look like some of the officials in the NHL that's been there for over the years. It's a path you can take if you're really committed to it.
Yeah. And you have to think about it too. It's the success rate of a player actually making it to the NHL is so low, but you can actually see some growth with refereeing hockey as well.
Oh, that's amazing. So, Justin, my big question is, the NHL playoffs are coming around the corner. They start Wednesday. I think the fans and I would like to know, what are the difference between regular season officiating and playoff officiating? Because there's been rumors saying the refs let things go, or just let the calls go, or let the scrums happen, let them play. What are the difference?
So, huge difference. Huge difference. And I'll tell you, each round of playoffs, you're going to have a difference as well. So for my officiating game, I noticed that I have big changes from the regular season to the playoffs. And to tell you the truth, yes, I put my whistle away a lot of times because for me, it's the spirit of the game. You have to let these men dictate how the game is going to go. It shouldn't be in my hands. It should never be in my hands. Obviously, I have to call a penalty if it's a penalty. But let's be honest here. There are some things that let me speak for me. I should speak for me. I shouldn't speak for what other officials do. But at the end of the day, you have to let them play. You have to let them dictate how this game is going to go. But we do that very strategically. So I'm talking about we do our research, right? So if you know, for example, you're going into a Boston game, you know Brad Marchand's history. But at the same time, you know that he would have a history with Austin Matthews or whoever he's playing against. You got to know that history so that you need to be prepared to call the penalty at the same time. So it doesn't mean we let everything go, but if it's player X against player Y that you've never heard of, you can let those kind of things go. You can let the players dictate the games. But there's going to be big fouls that you're still going to call. Like, I'm going to call the hook every time. That's going to be crucial. But if you're battling hard against the boards, what could have been a roughing call earlier in the season, that kind of stuff you can probably let go.
Now, my question is, with all this new coaches challenge, offside, goal interference, are you on for it or against it? Because should there just be human error? because refs are human, they make mistakes, but should there be more investigation in those type of things?
Yeah, I understand why they're doing it. I think there needs to be a lot more accountability when calls are very confusing, right? We get the calls on, say, goalie interference, and then the next whistle, you could get the exact same thing that almost looks identical, and it goes the opposite way. So then you have to, and it's different from game to game, which I find very confusing as a fan, as a referee. So I'd like to know who's making those situational calls. And you know what? Those people who are making the situational calls, even with video review, they're on a clock as well. So it's important that they make the right call, but under pressure and under time. So I am in favor as long as we're seeing a little bit more accountability.
There we have it, ladies and gentlemen. Now, Justin, I'll just ask you a couple of personal questions, don't mind. What is the worst trash talk you were probably given by a player when you officiated or made a call?
Oh my gosh. This is, what is this rated?
I will say PG-13
I've had the typical, like, come on, you're screwing us, ref, and things like that. But I think the funniest one I ever heard is, hey, ref, you must be pregnant. And I said, oh, why? Because you missed your period, or you missed this period, or something. Like, it's just, it's terrible. But they get pretty creative. But some of them get pretty disgusting at the same time.
I can understand. You gotta keep a level of professional. Again, it's human error. You probably are on the end of making a dozen calls where you're scratching your head or saying why you made it. But another question is, what is probably the most embarrassing call you made where you're just like, why did I call that, or how come?
Oh my gosh. I've made, Randy, I'm going to be honest with you. I've made so many that I can't even count. But it's about, let me tell you a secret here. It's about telling the players that you've made the mistake, because that's going to go a long way. If I know I've made a mistake and I'm like, no, I didn't make a mistake, then they're going to be mad at you because they know, and they can check video review and things like that. But if I say, you know what, it was heat of moment, I made the call, take the power play, take the penalty kill. Unfortunately, I can't turn my call back now. But at the same time, like, I'm really sorry about that. And you can get those conversations. And the one thing that I think is interesting is we don't hear those conversations in the NHL level between the referees and the player. But I can guarantee there are conversations that go on like that. So some of the worst calls I've ever made, it was playoff hockey. It was the Red Deer Rebels versus the Calgary Hitmen. We had a big icing call. We're talking about less than 60 seconds in the game. 1-goal game. Everything's on the line. And the thing about the WHL and the NHL is once they make that icing, they can't change. But teams are going to try to make that change, right? So if the linesman isn't paying attention, then it's going to come to bite you in the butt. So I called back the wrong player. I said, no, number 7, you were on the ice. You were on the ice. And he wasn't on the ice. He wasn't on the ice at all. So they had 3 D-men and 2 forwards to take the next draw. So totally my mistake, obviously, but I was so adamant about it, and it was a mistake. At the end of the day, I checked the video, and yes, I made that mistake. But, you're going to make those calls, and that things are going to happen. But it's about being able to stay within the game and bounce back that I think makes good referees versus bad referees.
Fair enough. You know what? At the end of the day, you got to you make the mistake, just own up to it, say your story, and hopefully it goes the other way. Well, Justin, I appreciate you coming today, taking the time. You gave us a lot of information on officiating in general. Hopefully that helps fans not get so mad at the refs yelling, throwing remotes at TV when there's a bad call and all that. Thank you, Justin, very much.
Randy, and I just want to remind people, we are human. The referees are human, right?
Absolutely.
And the best referees of the game have been selected to get into those playoffs assignments, just like the teams, right? So you're getting the best referees. Even though if you don't agree with the decision, you're going to have humans on the ice making those calls. So
100%. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Justin Slim, former WHL college coach, current trainer at Orange Theory. If you want a good workout, come check him out. He worked my butt today. Thank you, Justin, very much. Hope you guys all enjoyed this video. We'll see you guys later.